Okay, welcome traders. Now, I know most of you will be watching this on record, so we'll make it not as short as possible, but just as accurate and everything else. Now, what I want to talk about is backtesting Primetime Pro. Now, this is a long time, long overdue. And, you know, even from the very beginning when we rolled out Primetime Pro, getting the C Trader version, the security around that took like 2.5 months. There's been so many market disruptions, us going from C Trader looking for a new home with MT5. There's been a whole range of things. Now let me just take off the video and get some more screen there. So what what I've been looking at, and I was looking at this with Lee last week, and we were sort of going through Primetime Pro and the live trade signals, and there's a few updates that I've been trying to get the guys to put through here on the live trade signals, more like specific alerts when we get an instrument, say like Euro Aussie, that lines up as bullish, and we get a signal. You're like, okay, that's something that we should know about, right? So, but it's easier said than done with all the tech. The aim was to get the platforms, the MT5, the funded accounts set up again, get everyone trading, and then we can tune this up. But what we found looking through Primetime Pro, and one of the main things that one of the tech guys to do was really map out the performance, right? Like Euro Aussie here. Okay, it's bullish. We're going to buy zone signal. Now let's record the outcome, whether that's on a trading account or not, so we can sort of mark it one way or the other and really follow it. Now, what we found is we didn't have to look far, right? Just looking at the general markets, that there's been a lot of cash left on the table. And you know what? When you get the markets sort of behaving really well, like yesterday, of course, after the weekends, massive geopolitical event, the US taking out targets in Iran and all that sort of stuff. We now have a situation where the majors are lining up. There's a bit of discombobulation yesterday. We were looking at crosses. But let me just come back, and I want to just run you through, show you how, to build confidence and around Primetime Pro, and really it's quite amazing, right? And I said this, I put a lot of time into developing it, and then just because it was such a good, accurate signal, if anything, and it's completely objective, if anything, it's almost like we don't need, or we shouldn't be looking at what's happening in the market, right? Especially, around some of these events, because we are seeing signals pop up and the human instinct kicks in. You get subjective. You're like, maybe, maybe not. Anyway, we want to show you, build some trust around the tool, and then start to sort of map out what we should have been doing and when we should have been doing it. Right? Because there's a lot of opportunities here in the market, right? So let me just go through this, and it's going to build confidence in Primetime Pro. It's going to build confidence in yourself, and then you're going to start to really be like seriously be able to harness the power of this thing, and it's truly quite amazing. So let me just start with sterling, right? And now this is the new Metastock Zenith, right? Which is also called LSEG Workspace. It is the new sort of platform. I know a lot of people are sort of struggling with a few various things. One thing that was always annoying me from the time I started testing it was they use TradingView charts, and for whatever reason, you can't like you come back to your charts the next day, you almost got to redraw them again. And I can tell you that is outrageously frustrating. But just hang in there with that, because that's what they've got at the moment, and I'm sure the bankers would have been blowing up, because when they like you don't want to be sort of redrawing trend lines all over the place. Now, let me just come back and show you this sterling trade, right? And this is right in the middle of us sort of changing platforms. It was sort of at the start of the year, obviously, with when Donald was talking about all the tariffs, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The Don gets in, and away we go, right? So there's a sort of trend line at the top. It's not our best trend line. So what I want to show you is just like this. This is real stuff, not like some we're just going around sort of testing it on various aspects. It's actually like real opportunities, and when you see them and you map them out, And when I say map them out, is actually you just look at the progress of, say, sterling, look at the, how it performed, where the trend was. Okay, all the basic facts, the factors that we wanted around Primetime Pro. It's a technical tool that sort of really jumps on the trend, right? So that's the whole aim of this, and trusting the market and the history and the way things work in the market technically is the key part to this. So let's just have a run through this one, right? So you got sterling, and I haven't actually put Prime Time Pro. I'm not trying to cherry pick everything, but this downtrend would have been quite amazing as far as getting into the trade. Right now, you get the first move down, right, and there's nothing really. I mean, it doesn't come back to the trend line, right? So if we're using Trendline Trader, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities, right? But if I sort of widen out the history there, and you come back now, and this is the other thing too. I'm not like going to sort of cherry pick and go, oh yeah, you just get into it from the top. No, no, you'd never get the very start of the trend, but that's the obviously that's the starting point for us to really map things out. But you know what? From the time, oh my God, there it is. Okay, so you've got the starting point here of this downtrend. You've got the, to me, I mean, this would have been the second point, but then you've got the second point, I'd say the third. From this point on, you're looking to get Primetime Pro into play. And there are, a load of opportunities here. So just to sort of show you the way we should be using Primetime Pro. Okay, so let me just delete that line. Now, if we look at the overall trend here, right, we've got starting point up here. You've got loads of touches here on the downtrend, and then it comes through, and we've got the trend line here. Okay, and we're sort of trying to work out is this thing going up or down? The to me, when you're sort of mapping out, okay, is it going up? Right, you can trade the break there, right, which is probably a short-term trading opportunity. But what we're looking for is the up. Is this an uptrend? Now, what you've got to just be patient and consistent with is your technical analysis, right? We've got this low here, and we get a new low. So you start drawing the trend line. This is the start of an uptrend, like a support trend line. We've got this third touch here. Now, just looking at that third touch, once we've got that, now this trend line here would be a little bit higher already, right? Because it's already come across. So I'm not like, as I said, I don't want to be like giving you like, yeah, that's great, bro. But what are we really looking for? So you're looking for confirmation. And to me, if I'm looking for sort of real confirmation, I go, okay, here, this I could almost put that in as the same sort of level. Here's the second point. You come up to the third point, and then it sort of starts to break higher from here. You're looking to get into the trade, right? That's all you're doing. Now, what we're trying to do in this presentation is just show you how to use the Primetime Pro. Now, I mean, the strategy tester. Now, have you guys, John, Leonard, have you guys used the strategy tester before?
No, no, I haven't.
Okay, well, that's good.
Not on Primetime Pro.
Okay, excellent. All right. So, what we want to do is you come up to the top here and you go view, just come down to strategy tester. Okay. And then you get the strategy tester sort of popping up. Now, what we want to do, you can either you can test any of the trade tools and various things, even if you've got other ones. Now, I want to test Primetime Pro, so I just click on that. Now, what I would be doing is looking at, in this example, I mean, I was just looking at Sterling CAD. I'll come back to that because yesterday was a cracker. There's a bit of uncertainty in it, but I'll tell you what, if you trust the signals, it is very good. So coming back to Sterling, and we're looking to sort of get in, I think it was the 11th of Feb, was by the time it had broken, had already had those three touches, and then looking to come back into the market. Now, so there's a couple of things here, right, that you need to do. So you pick your symbol, and you can go through the crosses, majors, minors, whatever it might be. You select your time frame. Now, you can change this to 1 minute right through up to monthly. Now, I generally test it on the hourly charts, or the daily charts. Okay. Now, these are the general settings I've got. I'm using a Pepperstone account. Delays like 100 milliseconds, right? Sort of replicate the market as much as you can. Modeling every tick. Set the account up to be like $100,000. Leverage 100 to 1. Not that we would use that anyway. Optimization disabled, but I do tick the visual mode, right? This allows us to see visually what is happening. Okay. And there's not much else on this page to change, right? You've got Prime Time Pro, the currency, time frame, the period, right? So you can just go back when you go back to your charts and you're looking for where you want to be sort of getting into the trade, okay, is just work out where the time frame is, right? So if it's around like after these three touches, you've got the three there, and you're coming up to the fourth one. I guess there's three. Then you're sort of coming back down towards the trend line. I would be looking to get involved here, right? That is the absolute key part to it. You're like, okay, we've got a trend line here. It's going up. I want to be getting in to the next Prime Time Pro signal. Now, is that going to be down here or is it up here? You don't exactly know where it is, but we don't need to know. You just need to know that there's an uptrend here forming or formed and you want to get into the trade. So then you come back to your strategy tester. And so was I looking at the 10th? I think it was the 11th. Okay, so what you want to do is hit start. Okay, now if I just hit pause, because we got the visual up, you get another screen popping up, right? Now there's a couple of things on this, and I can hit play here. I've got trade set. Actually, let me just come back and just show you where I set all this up, right? Trade, all these features here. Now, it'd be remiss of me to show you that because it's one of the key parts. So you've got your instruments set up, inputs, right? You come over to your inputs, and this is where you can come back and set up whether you want trade, auto trade, or no trade. You can have, these are the settings that we have initially. You can either have both buy and sell. I've only got only buy because I'm looking to get into the trend on the top side. I've got all the generic settings, right? False for exit on crossover, exit on trend change, 10 lots, or actually maximum losing trades. I've got set to 10, lot size 10, and just the normal trade plan. Okay, so you do your settings, you come to inputs, and then we are on, right? And then you come back to your strategy tester. So if up the top here, you've got a couple of controls. You've got play, stop, and then you've got the speed of which you want to sort of see the outcome. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just hit play, right? And so this is sterling. Now, what we can do, if we want to sort of expedite things a bit, right? So you move the cursor over, and you'll start to see where sterling sort of maps out here. Now, one of the key things of building confidence and understanding here is we do, as I was saying, like there's sometimes you want to be looking at the market, other times you don't. Now, as the strategy tester goes here, you'll notice there's situations where we know as a trader, central bank announcements and probably inflation numbers are the two key things. Now, over this period of the last probably 3 months, we have had the Donald, right? The Trump factor, which has caused a bit of discombobulation, but sterling and euro were like outrageously performing, right? So what I'm trying to say is we put Prime Time Pro into play. All you need to do is get one or two trends, right? And that's where you're going to make your money. And when I say trends, the move where it goes 200 to 300 points, that's what we're looking to get here with Prime Time Pro, okay? If the inflation numbers or the central bank has a major announcement, maybe that's a time to pause it, right? And then you can pause Prime Time Pro. If there's no sort of disruptions, then either put it back on or close out your positions, right? And then look to reinstate on the next cycle of the trend, right? Because the power is just following, if I looked at it across this period of time on a number of different instruments, if I just focus on the inflation numbers and then central bank announcements, you could probably pick up 30 to 40K improvement in your performance, right? So just looking at the history here, right? It's sort of putting on trades. This is what I'm talking about. This makes your year, right? You get two of these, you are cooking with gas, right? You're looking at a big trade here, and that is just staying in the trade. Now, if you looked at the market, right, and it was overdone quite a lot, but it's not our job to judge what the instrument is doing, right? Our job is to put Prime Time Pro into play. It's got a trade plan that can manage the trading opportunities. Okay. So I think, you know what, logically, and with the benefit of looking at a strategy tester here, what I am sort of saying is we should really optimize the opportunities just by watching inflation and the central banks. Because you'll see here on even in sterling, if I just speed this up a touch, there's a couple of situations where sterling goes into a bit of a meltdown, and there's a run of losing trades here. Um, Let me just have a look down the bottom here. And I was looking at it going, yeah, okay. Well, that you could actually take those off the table. If there was you can generally see a downtrend. So this thing ended up netting, I think it's just over 70K on and leaving these trades in here. And I'm not saying you'd take all of them out, but you know what? If there is weaker inflation and there's going to be a pressure on the downside, then you would be looking for that, right? And that's something that you can do. And especially when, say, it starts trading sideways like it did over here. Okay. That's something that you're like, you know what? This thing is now trading sideways. Like you can see this situation here again, where there's a run of losing trades primarily based off, whether it was a stronger dollar or weaker UK fundamentals. There's 30K, right? Just on those two situations. Now, say you leave two of those in, you're still picking up an extra 20. And this is the power of it when it goes, right? This is all we're looking for. We're not looking for these trades. They top your account up. What we're looking for is to get into a trend where we get everything lined up and you pick up, 20 to 30,000 US on one trade, right? And you don't need to be overzealous with this, right? This move here happened in a day and a half, 2 days, right? The last one was a little bit longer, but that's all we're looking to do. So we need to identify the trend, right? You get into the trend, and when it's so this I know it's still going in the background, but you got all these touches here, right? And it comes back, right? We haven't you saw me just draw the trend line before. It's no surprise when it got back down to the trend line support, it holds, and then this is where the gravy is. Okay? Putting it into play, and if you've already made cash up to here, you'll have no problems doing it, is capturing the explosive move. That's where most of the cash is. Here, right? Then you can sort of start to piece it together, whether you're in the trade or not, and looking at inflation and the whole situation. Now you heard a squeak there, so that basically means in this situation it had 10 losing trades, right? That's why it stopped. That's why it stopped working. Otherwise, we would have had a bunch more, right? Now let's just have a look at that. Okay, so at the bottom, you can see all the trades here, 70K. You can come back through and when you are back testing, be realistic, okay? Because you come back and have a look at these trades and you can go back through and find out where they were. And you're like, okay, what was coming out in those days? Was it inflation? Was it just a general dollar move? Was it a geopolitical event? Because then what you're doing is you're building confidence around your own decision-making process. Would I have done that? Yes or no, right? I can tell you if you're already up 50 or 60K, you're probably going to leave it on anyway, regardless. But that's where, complacency sort of creeps in. We're humans and you can get complacent. I do it occasionally and it costs me money, right? that's what we want to do. Primetime Pro is objective. It's not human. It's not subjective. It doesn't get complacent. It just executes. So that's sterling, right? I was looking at that, and I've been sort of. It may not seem like it, but I've been working hard behind the scenes trying to get the right broker for the funded accounts, and I've been looking at um, you know, adding extra tech things with live trades. Like there's been a lot of disruption for me personally. I came back and looked at this. I was I wasn't like it was in between sort of cranky and just frustrated. I'm like, oh my God, there's money here. So that's what I'm saying to you. We've got the live trade signals. I know it's not like you're getting an email with an alert, but these tools, these ones here, what you want to be testing, right? And this is the most logical thing, is keeping a track. And I want to get these tech guys to sort of build out the ones like an alert or a page where we list the opportunities, like bullish, Euro Aussie, we've got a buy zone. That goes into a short-term trade, right? If we get long-term signals, it could be a longer trade. But let's map out these so you can build confidence to actually just put Primetime Pro into play, right? The Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Now, let me just go through. Lee had a trade yesterday. I don't know if you saw his update in the Discord. Anyone see that? Where was it? Lee had to put a trade on yesterday based off the trade signal. Now, I had, and Mike was actually, Mike McKay was sort of updating, right, which was a really benefit to the team. Yesterday when uh, they were talking about, obviously after the US had bombed Iran, they were going to close the Strait of Hormuz, which I wasn't really up the curve on how important that was. And there was a lot of excitement around the media, right? And you see the worst of the media when these things happen. It's all about fear. 70% increase in fuel prices, global recession, the world's going to end, all this sort of crap. And like, look at this, oil settles down 7% after Iran attacks, right? There was not a lot of activity in the currencies, and I was looking at it very closely. Let me just come back to the major pairs here. So before I finish it, before I get into this next part, is there any questions on how to use the strategy tester there? Right? Anything, even if it's a small question.
I'm good.
It's probably not related to that, Brad, but I'm using Primetime Pro quite a lot.
Yep.
And I don't quite understand. Like, I look at it, I put one on yesterday with sterling US at about 134, and it hasn't kicked in. And like, we're up to 130, 135.4. It, am I like doing something wrong? I'm
Uh,
setting it up the way that you've got it set up there.
yeah. Did you get well, yesterday, so Sterling, like looking at yesterday, to me, well, it's very similar to Sterling CAD, right? You have this gap on the announcement, right? On the open after the weekend, right? Dollar strength after the US strikes. There was a trigger here on a lot of the instruments. Now, this is where Lee distrusted the signal, right? And went Sterling CAD primarily because CAD was one of the prime things. Oil wasn't moving far. It pulled back very quickly. So looking to get into a you know sell CAD sort of situation because it's the impact on oil wasn't actually happening. So it's a bit of a this is where I was saying like it's a little bit more not a gamble, but a little bit more risk involved because you are getting into the trade, but you can see what's happening. But the technical structure wasn't there, but the signal was there. Now, Sterling should have had the similar thing. Was this the level you're looking at, John? There was it. It would have been sort of up here somewhere, or was it because it didn't hit that oversold level again? I'll have to have a.
That's
I'll have
where it was. Yeah.
the second one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Primetime Pro, it needs to be below 20, right? So if this thing doesn't get there, it doesn't execute.
Okay.
Okay, so it's got to be in this oversold territory. Otherwise, you know what? You were like a bee's dick away from hitting it out of the park, right? So let me just come back to that because that is obviously a key factor. And you know what? You might have a couple of those, John, which I have had as well. They're like so close. You're like, oh my God. And then you start thinking, well, if I was at the screen, should I just get in? The law of averages
On
using,
that note, Brad, I had another one yesterday as well, which was Euro Swiss. And I'm looking at it now, and it's exactly the same as what you've just said. It hasn't hit the 20 mark. And if it had, it's sort of gone from 93.8 up to 94.2
yeah, so that's how,
overnight.
and look how close this is. It's the red line, right? That's the trigger. The blue was just below and the red didn't hit it. That's
Yeah,
that's brutal, right? So if anything, what you've got to do there, and you're a pretty calm guy, is like just go, wow, that was close. Like just try and forget it because that can haunt you a little bit. You're like, oh my God, that is insane. Like that's insane how close it is, right?
2 in a row does.
Yeah, oh, 100%. So
Yeah,
you just want to like as much as you can try and brush it off and let it go for the next one. So let me
yeah.
just come back and I'll show you a couple of others because this is the one here, right? This is what I'm talking about, sterling CAD. It was the only instrument, right? And when I say buy zone, it was going up, direction was up, and it's still there, to be honest, I think. But we don't have the clear signal. Now, out of all of the live signals, it was the only one where the signal lined up with the direction. And you guys know what that is, right? So if I was like, we've got some here today, we've got quite a few. Sterling Kiwi, it is going up, it's bullish. And we are getting a buy, it's in the buy zone signal on the short term charts, right? On the hourly chart. That's what we're looking for. This is going up. This thing is now going up. And you know what I like about this? I've sort of mentioned this in some of the other videos is check out the structure of this. Momentum is down, so it's overstretched on the hourly charts, which means it's going to turn at some point very shortly. We're in the buy zone, and when it ricochets, you want to be in that trade. That's like and especially when momentum is going up on the long term chart. That's exactly what we had yesterday on sterling CAD, right? Let me just give you a rundown of sterling CAD because if you see, so what I'm trying to get to is when you see these signals, right? Even like today or tomorrow, if you're not actually trading them yourself, write them down, like actually, or take a snapshot. And as I said, there's quite a few here. Euro Aussie, bullish, buy zone, right? Okay, write down the time and then come back and put it in the strategy tester tomorrow and see how that would have worked out. You're going to be able to build confidence in Prime Time Pro and the live signals both at the same time. And there's quite a few here. So that's where I want to sort of get the crossover. I think, you know what, with all the changes and everything in the systems we've had, that everyone sort of got left behind a bit about using Primetime Pro. I know that Trump has been a bit of a nuisance, but the markets are, you know what, are now sort of starting to factor in Trump, right? There's no crazy moves now. That's like, okay, here comes the shock and awe, and we'll just see how it plays out. But come back to this. Sterling CAD. Now, buy zone. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do to get more confidence in using Primetime Pro when you should use it. Now, I was just sort of saying there before, when you're looking at Sterling CAD, it was a bit of there's the whole situation with oil, and the media was talking about what it could do with oil, right? So Sterling CAD was under pressure initially. And and fair enough, because if oil prices are going to go up, the Canadian dollar is going to rally, right? So you're looking at the overall situation here, thinking, well, okay, we've got to trade here. So what you can do is you can build confidence around the opportunity by drawing in technical analysis. The other one would be just using your market knowledge, and you're like, because I was watching oil very closely, right? And it was up 2.5%. It just sort of peaked and then went back down below 2% pretty quickly, down to 1.7. I thought oil's not moving here. And everyone, like, and it's not a dumb trade, but everyone piled into the CAD, right? And it was, it's easy in hindsight, don't get me wrong, but everyone was sort of was going to that was going to obviously reverse. So sterling CAD, if I come back to the strategy tester and let's just find sterling CAD. Okay, hourlies. Now, if I come into today, let's come back to yesterday. Okay, hourly charts. So once again, just assume that you're testing a new instrument here. And if I just put this back here, I don't want it to sort of take off on me. Okay, so once you've got your settings and you come back into your inputs, okay, trade or auto trade, right? This could actually be one of the factors that you use. I've been using trade a lot, the trade feature. Now, it can, like what you've had there, John, where you've had two close calls, it can bite you in the butt occasionally, right? Because if you had auto trade on here, I think you would have been okay. So just to explain trade mode will execute if you've got it set up to only buy. It will trigger when it goes from being oversold back up, regardless of where the bull bear pivot line is. If you have auto trade set up, it won't buy if the price is below the bull bear pivot line. It sort of brings in an extra layer of risk management, so to speak. So, say for example, this thing is crashing, and you've got it set for auto trade, and it's down here, and you get the signal. It won't execute. It will only execute a buy signal if the price is above the bull bear pivot line. In this situation, I think it would have triggered, right? Because if it gets to here, you'll see when I set this up, it's sort of just above the trigger point. But so I'm using the trade mode a lot is where I'm coming to. Only
Yeah, I
buy.
was on auto.
You're on auto, right? Okay, well that's
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
okay. 10 lots. We've got all this. We've got everything set up. So if I hit start, okay. So this is sterling CAD, right? Now you've got to have a little bit of confidence in two things. You're understanding that the media is beating up the whole story about oil, right? It was all about oil yesterday, less so about the bombs than oil. And you know what? I actually think they've let them bomb Qatar just to get save a bit of face, right? Because now they can come back to the table, say, yeah, we got one of your airfields. Everyone's like, happy? You happy? You got the airfields? Good. We got the nukes. It's crazy I mean, I've been watching financial market news for 35 years. It all looks weird. Okay, so here's the deal, right? You got the open. So you look at this signal and you're like, yeah, righto, okay, massively oversold as you'd expect on the announcement. This is the thing where I was saying, if you know, take out your human brain and you're like, well, as I said, it's easy in hindsight, but I was looking at oil going, the impact on oil is not there, right? So there's going to be a bit of a reversal. I didn't realize how much they'd piled into CAD because if I sort of speed this up a touch, you start to sort of see where you get in here to the trading opportunity. Now, I can't add a few things. I was just going to add the bull bear pivot line in there, but this is one of those trades, and even if you're building confidence, whether you're trading on it, you could do this trade on a demo account, or you could just put a small trade on, like even one lot. You're like, you know what? This is actually quite amazing. I can see this event unfolding, and unlike an ongoing battle, it was a strike. Then there was the reaction. Then the price of commodities and things moved, and then they stopped. So you could actually see, hang on, the news doesn't match up with what is actually happening in the market. So this is where you get the signal, okay? And as I said, like you see the initial move. The other part is if it goes back above where it closed, like the move is over. The down move is the reaction to that event was over. Now, if I just sort of speed this up a touch, okay, let me just get this arrow, just by sliding that along a bit. you don't need, and in actual fact, with a lot of trading, your best performance, you won't be in front of the screens. Now, you could manage this trade, but the price action here, I would say if you're watching it, you might get freaked out and think, well, you know, I feel uncomfortable because the price action didn't really go. But you could see once it became apparent that oil wasn't moving and it started falling, where the move was. And the trailing stop, that red line, is trailing the move up. Now, so there's not much, and it's closed out here, right? This is 10 lots, 11,000 US, right? It closed out because that's where the market is, right? It just went to the market as it is right now. The That's amazing, right? This is, and you're like, yeah, okay, I can see that. I didn't even know to look at this until I saw Lee's update, and I was like, wow, mate, Lee, what a champion! Getting into the trade, looking at what was happening in the market, oil being the biggest factor for CAD. You get into the trade, and once again, you're never going to get the absolute bottom, right? So there's like three, one, two, three on the fourth hour after it bottomed out, right? After it hit the low. That's when that signal was sent. This is what you should be getting confidence in, because if this was a made up thing, you'd be trying to get the signal at the bottom here, right? Which is absolutely, you can do it, but highly unlikely. You get into the trade. Once again, this is the trade here around the price where see where it opened up, or it gapped down, where it closed on Friday. That's what the market was fighting. Is it going to go back above the close? And sort of once it got up there, there's a bit of discombobulation, and then it just took off. Like we saw on sterling, you're looking for the move, the one move, right? And we don't know a lot of the time when that is going to happen. What you've got to do is trust your analysis. Okay. And if I'm looking at, and you could be looking at sterling CAD here, if I just get up. Now, some of these, my templates, they got like lock signals. The Metastock team are trying to work that out, what that is. Otherwise, I could share all these templates. Now, these ones here are just sort of generic ones. But if I go to sterling CAD here, on the daily charts, actually, let me just go to sterling CAD and get both of them up on the same page. That might be easier. And what you would be doing just to build a little bit of confidence here. Now, there's actually two things I want you to sort of start to think about. One is just trusting the signals and start building performance history around those. And that's what I've got to talk to the tech guys about how we're going to do that as well. So we can actually have a list of what is the performance. So you're trying to build trust yourself. So the aim of actually showing you how to use the strategy tester, it's not like just taking my word for it. I want you to sort of get your own word for it, right? And then you can come back and check out your decision-making process over Primetime Pro. What we need is you need an event or trending markets, right? That's all we need. So that's the sort of key part to it, is mapping out, and we've had a fair bit of disruption, right? And the move in sterling, the main move where sterling really took off was back in Feb, right? At the start of February. And that is exactly what it is. Now, Euro had a very similar sort of run, right? I put the tester over that, it only made about 40K, but that's 40K more than you may have otherwise made. Okay, so look at the your charts, and you can actually really map this out. And when you see, so there's a couple of key things. All you need to be doing, right, is, well, just draw your trend lines like you would, right? This is the long-term trend line. So, and why you would do that is you're like, okay, I got to map this out so you can see all the levels where, the trend did break. And even if you've missed, like, for sure, okay, if it's not going up here, then you're looking for the next levels to get in where it's sort of breaking above the next trend lines. The long-term charts, you're not going to get as many signals. right? Because it sort of sends up a signal every month and a half. So you're going to have a few different strategies here, but build confidence, understanding what is happening here on Primetime Pro. Now, I wouldn't be putting it into play here on the Aussie. Starting to get a bit more of an affection for the Kiwi. It's got a little bit more structure. The Aussie has just been an absolute dead duck, right? But sterling and euro, we've been saying it for months. These two here are outperforming, right? So whether you look on these short term, excuse me, or the long term charts, you can sort of map it out and actually get some structure into the trades. But most importantly, let like be objective. Is I'd say I'm almost saying be less human and actually just come through and see what the signals are putting out here and start to map them out. Okay. And because as soon as you build like a little bit of confidence, you go and test 3 or 4 or 5 instruments and you're like, yeah, that one made like $1,000, that one made $3,000, that one made $2,000. This is going to be you're probably your primary money raising tool, and then you're in there trading, just managing trades, right? And when you are managing trades, try and keep a history of that, because if you work out that if you didn't manage the trades with human instinct, would the result have been better or worse, right? And you've got to be completely honest with yourself there. So that's what I wanted to get back to is just show you how good and strong. Like I do come back and I'm like harping, like going, okay, the majors are in play again, but so are all the Euro crosses, right? This thing is going up against everything. And then you got sterling doing very similar things, right? So use this strategy tester to build confidence and understanding around these moves, because we're leaving cash on the table. Like this is the problem. It's almost like if you're a really good breeder and you had 7 kids, you could say to each kid, you're on each, everyone's got a currency, right? Right. Well, you watch that currency and let's just trade them, because there's so many currencies here for us to watch, which is why I built the live trade signals, because you're one person. You can't logically go and hit them all. But what you can do is hit the ones that line up perfectly. Okay. Any questions on that? No. Okay. So the best thing to do, I mean, I'm going to start doing it and hopefully get a page built that will do it as well. Like start mapping out the ones that like today are in play. Like this is going down. It's in the sell zone. Excuse me. It's momentum's going down. Aussie Swiss. It's bearish. That looks like to me an absolute no-brainer. And if I wasn't looking at this table, I would have no idea that Aussie Swiss was at a selling opportunity. So is Kiwi Swiss. I mean, Swissy being a bit of a safe haven, obviously he's going to be outperforming most things, and it is sterling Swiss. So that's where we want to get to, guys. Get tuned up. The only way you're going to be able to build confidence without putting the trades on is actually go through your strategy tester. I would suggest you test the instruments. Okay, set them up here. You don't need. This is the best thing about it, right? And I did this when I was making this. I set up some, excuse me, some instructions here and settings that you don't need to change. Now, with your strategy testing, you can, and this is what I want you to do, is come back and adjust the stop loss pips and maybe adjust the take profit pips, right? Then test it. Then you'll start to see, hang on, Brad's actually right. The settings that he's using optimize it to the nth degree. But you might find a niche market, if market conditions change a little bit, excuse me, the take profit may be 100 points, 125. You may have a 25-point stop loss and a 75-point take profit. So just experiment with that. And if you find some settings that are working for you on a particular instrument, then that's the time to start sharing it with the rest of the team or yourself if that's the case. So that's where we are. What you can do here is a little bit of experimentation, but it's really about confirming how this works and how it lines up perfectly with the live trade signals themselves. Okay. Excuse me. Got a bit of dust in my throat. All right, Leonard, John, any questions? G'day, Jeffrey. Sorry, mate, we're just almost at the end of this, but I have recorded the session. So, as I said, just go through, keep a track record, get a notepad, write down the date, the instruments, come back, test them. How could you optimize it? Would it be good for you to get into that trade or not? And it's just going to explode from here because there are loads of opportunities, whether they are short term or even intraday. I mean, intraday or multi-day trading opportunities. Now, the multi-day ones, right? If you've got signals, just to finish up, so you've got like a Euro Kiwi here, excuse me, bullish, we're in the buy zone. Now, this is going, momentum's going up. This is like that Aussie Swiss I was just showing you. Like it's a no-brainer. You want to be looking at this and sort of assessing afterwards, after the trade, okay, should I have given this more time? How would you know that? Well, that's where you come back and go, Euro Kiwi, right? Let me just have a quick squeeze at the calendar. Is there anything that's going to jump into Euro Kiwi? This is where I'm saying you want to start bringing in the other components and going, no, there's not much out in Euro Kiwi. Well, let's have Euro. There's the IFO business numbers. I mean, that can move things. It's more of a subtle number than a head kicker, but that might be something. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the Canadian inflation numbers today, with everything else that's going on in oil and everything else, but that's by the by. So when you are looking at the live trade signals, put some technical analysis around it to confirm it. It may make the trade look better or may not change things. Trust the signal and then look at the opportunity and go, is there anything coming out that's going to affect this? If there is, maybe it's a short-term trade. If there isn't, then let it run. All right. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. So that's the main part is it's more me looking at the markets and seeing how much cash we're leaving on the table. Almost too much human input and not enough trust in let the markets do the job for us. Even around a lot of the Trump stuff, right? I started placing trades, only buy sell trades, or sorry, both buy and sell on when it really wasn't going anywhere, but we are having like these 150 point ranges, and there's cash in those, right? So make sure you test everything, and let me know how you get on. This is really important that you understand how it works, how you can optimize the tool. As I said, get the strategy tester up, adjust the inputs, right? And don't just take my word for it that these settings are the best ones. Go and have a look and work out, for yourself. And that's the best way that you can build confidence, right? And if you are going out for the day, you're like, you know what? I'll come back, check the signals. You know what? I've got 5 signals here, but I really like 2 of them, and I'm just going to put 2 trades on, and then you go about your day. That's why we set. That's why we built Primetime Pro, so we don't sit in front of the screens. If we get the setup, you would put the trade on. That's what this is all about. All right, guys. Okay, well, I'll get this video back up. You'll find it in the live sessions archive, and yeah, let's hear. I want to hear how you get on. If you've got any questions about it, let me know, and we can work it out from there. All right, guys. Thank you. Cheerio.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.